Peace, y'all. What is good? IAM here, man. And today I want to talk to you about why I feel having an elastic-like flexibility is one of the major keys for freedom. So I'm out here. I had to get outside and catch some of the sun, man. And speaking of flexibility, this is so funny. All right, so I told y'all last time I had like 2 shifts worth of sleep, and I definitely did that again. But now that I'm in Chicago, I'm also in the CT time zone. I'm in Central Time. So, you know, normally I look to get videos out at 5:50, but even being flexible, like with my timing and when I'm showing up, we've talked about many times over that time is, you know, perception, and it's quite literally relative. But even just the fact that 5:50 to me might might not be 5:50 to you. This is one of the things that I'm just learning to really flow with, man. And being elastic, like, you know, when you think of like a rubber band or anything like that, it's funny. Shout out one of my recent subscribers, but also I feel like a day 2 supporter. Quite literally, you know who you are. Shout out you, because we had the conversation, and back when I was in Buffalo, my hometown, I did this interview about just my life, just, you know, just things that I was working on at the time, Gospel, the project being released. And this person was asked if they could describe me in one word, what would it be? And she said, elastic. And that's something I've really been sitting more with since, because I hadn't realized how much me being extremely flexible, how much of a strength that was. And dang, it's loud over there. Okay, so we're not going. Speaking of elastic flexibility, we about to go all over my neighborhood, man. I'm still exploring these different pathways. But yeah, that really came to mind more recently when I'm thinking about what are the things that I normalize, maybe sometimes I take for granted as like, oh, this is just who I am, but not realizing it's an extremely valuable gift. You know, it's something that I have which might differentiate me from a lot of other people who maybe aren't able to be as flexible. And it's funny that I was also having a conversation with that person about flowing, like with creativity when it comes to creating. And something I think about is that more recently, even while I mentioned the time thing to start off the video, I've learned more that it's okay to have limitations and restrictions. And in fact, oftentimes it really might help us a lot, especially if you're a person like me. You know, you feel like a more divergent creator. Like I could go in all these different directions. That's fine and right. It's great to have some restriction, but knowing when and how to also break those restrictions, I feel like is extremely important, because those limitations are only there to create structure and build a framework around. It is just quite how I look at it. You know, when you start to develop a routine, and I'm like, I'm gonna go and film this video every week, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna record something, that's really just something that reinforces an idea to be like, okay, this is what I do. Like, this is who I am, this is what I'm being. I'm just gonna create like clockwork. And then it just becomes repetition, I feel like, in our minds, which brings me to having that mental flexibility is important, right? Because it's so easy to get in the cycle to be like, okay, I do this. It becomes ritualistic, right? Almost like, this is the example that comes to mind for whatever reason, but I just think about like religion, tradition. It's just something that you do. I feel like there's another word for it. It's something that you do, but you know, out of almost like an obligation. like, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to wake up and go to church or go to mass or whatever. There's not exactly a large sense of devotion within that, right? It's not like you're doing it at that point because you actually want to do it. You're just doing it because you're accustomed to it. So I feel like the main difference from that would be like, okay, this is what I created for myself. Like, again, this system, this maybe these restrictions, this rigidity, but I only have to abide by that while it's actually serving or while it's helping. The moment I say like, okay, I have other priorities, I need to go and take care of myself, right? I might have other obligations, you know, family, whatever. In this moment, I'm gonna prioritize a little differently, and I'll just make room to be flexible. And so that being said, it's just like, no, I'm gonna still get to it. But now, even when I get off track of my routine, it's so easy for me to just jump back on it. And now as I'm like walking around this neighborhood, like the creating aspect is just like such a second nature thing that it doesn't really matter what I'm doing. I could just create easily because I just know, oh yeah, like I know how to communicate and I know what's really on my mind and what my intention is. Like I know what I want to get out and I want to express. So, that being said, yeah, the flexibility part, one of the things that I really appreciate, and I've seen this talked about repeatedly online, and when you think about like Bruce Lee and me being in the martial arts, talk about water, right? And if you've ever seen that video with Bruce Lee, he's like, flow like water, my friend. And I feel like it's such a great representation of being elastic or being flexible, because when you think about water and how it flows, like there's only so much you can do to restrict water. Like you can contain it in some way, shape or form, right? You can provide a container, but the thing about water is that it's gonna fill up any space, like without permission. I would say like there's no way like there's no way like you can restrict water. I mean, there's probably a couple, but I'm saying like there's no way you can stop it from taking up space. Like it's just going to fill whatever you put it in. And I think that's a great example, because no matter if you hit the water, like you try and push it in different directions, it's just gonna take that shape or form, and it's not gonna actually hurt it. You feel me? Like water isn't brittle. Like there's not much you can do to water. But at the same time, it's funny how like, I got cars behind me. It's funny how water pressure is like one of the strongest forces that we experience like on Earth and in our reality. When you get a really strong water pressure and it's really built up, it's extremely powerful, but at the same time, it's like it's extremely flexible. You know, it can do whatever, go in any direction. So I feel like that's a great example. And even when it comes to martial arts, I've been noticing like all the great fighters, when you look at Muhammad Ali, even seeing the videos now with like AB, Floyd Mayweather, when they start punching, it's like they be mad calm. Like they don't be stressed. It's because it's such a second nature thing in their routine, but also they've learned how to really relax and stay loose, because it allows just for like a quicker response. You feel me? By them being flexible and elastic, it's like just quick, fluid movements. And I feel like that's how we want to be more so in life. We want our responses to be quick, fluid. We don't want to be so rigid, because rigidity, again, is like, it's brittle, it's fragile. So if I'm mad rigid and I'm stiff, I'm tense all the time, when you do that and you get into an environment, you're gonna break, quite literally. Like, you know, that's how a lot of people break from stress, because they're so tense, they're so rigid. The more that I can be like, even now, I'm going through this stressful situation. There's all these obstacles in my way. There's a lot of things that want to deter and distract me, but I'm focused on the main thing. Then I'm flowing, like it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna get to my destination either way. And there's this park I really love that's near my house. It's called Leland. It's elite, beautiful neighborhood, man. But yeah, this is kind of what I mean about going with the flow and being, I'm still looking to decide which way am I going. I'm probably gonna go straight. But you know, going with the path of least resistance. Appreciate you. And that's just how I've kind of come to terms with like me being in my life of like, yo, if people, places, environments, I feel like I've said this so many times on this channel, if people, places, environments aren't welcoming me or my energy, I'm not gonna try and force energy. Like I'm just gonna flow like water. Like where can I go? Where can I turn to? And I feel like that was the compliment that was given to me. And I feel like I received more of when people are like, oh yeah, you're very persistent, you're very resilient. And I'm just like, thank you. It's like, it's just life though. Like, what am I gonna do? Stop? I'm gonna just stop and like let people deter me from what I want in my life? Like, nah, that's crazy, man. Like, I'm not gonna do what I wanna do or achieve my goals. You know, and I should introduce this, right? Because one of the main things that have really helped me too, and I think about, I receive this a lot, because a lot of people love to talk about Neville, Goddard, for a great reason. Like, for me, last year, in the year 2025, when I'm feeling like I'm having this spiritual awakening and this enlightenment, like quite literally though, like all these things that's just opening up into my reality, and I'm changing my mind quite literally. Neville Goddard, when I was learning about all that information, those teachings, it really helped me a lot, because it kind of altered the way that I was seeing life, the way I was seeing perspective. And I think it has a lot to do with what he says of doing things with the end goal in mind. And this is also where, shout out another one of my friends, who recently, I just sent her the channel. We were having a conversation and talking about creating, and for me, I'm talking about purpose and impact. And it was just so wild, because she's like, a lot of people have, what do you say? A lot of people have dreams, right? And they have passions. And I'm like, I love that and I appreciate it, because yes, I'm very passionate. But one thing I realize is that for me, the things that I see has way more to do with that being a God-given vision. Like, this is quite literally my vision. This is what I'm seeing and what God is showing me. So like, that's what I mean more so about enlightening and awakening. Like, those are some of the things that really help me build perspective, to be like, oh, this is purposeful, right? This is purpose driven, this is intentional. It's not, it could be passion, but like passion and purpose, you feel me? Like, it's not just, I'm doing this because it's a hobby or because I have a dream that one day, you know. And then like, dreams are great, that's beautiful, but like, you have to wake up from a dream, you feel me? If you're just dreaming, then that means you're asleep. But if I have a vision and I know daily I'm devoted to that vision, then that means eventually I'm going to be able to reach the reality that I'm seeing, right? And that's just my whole interpretation of a lot of what Neville Goddard would talk about. And he uses the Bible as a framework. And it's wild. I believe he's a Jamaican man, or he's like citizens. He's this lighter complexion dude, but I believe, yeah, he was in the Caribbean. And it's just really interesting to see how he has that God perspective, but he just talks about the IAMness. And that's been really big for me, like hence Ephraim, right? A lot of people would spell my name like that for so long. Yo, I gotta tell y'all this because a lot of people would spell. Okay, so my given name is actually Ephraim, and it's like Ephraim, Ephraim. Like Hebrew and Spanish people usually pronounce it that way. And I think about like right, like aim, like Ephra aim, and I'm like I'm aiming, which is what is like this is where I get on. I get on my ish, man, because I'm like, it's funny because the aim is in my name, and I'm a Sag, you know, so super fire horse, bow and arrow type energy. But when I created the channel, and I'm like, I have this vision of my higher self, and I'm saying like that's Ephraim. This is no longer just things that, again, like a dream, like I'm aiming towards this, or like, you know, this is what I would like to be, I aspire to be. I'm like, no, it's Ephraim, because this is who I am. Like, this is what I'm choosing to be and embody. And those are completely different energies, completely different vibrations. So that's what I've been more focused on. And yeah, some of that inspiration is just, well, really, that's just what came to me. That's just what flew to me, like, no pun intended. But it was a flow, and I feel like that's, to me, that's God consciousness, right? And that's what I know Neville talks a lot about too. When we're all creators, we're all inspired by the same thing, the same source, the same connection, right? God is, you know, love, but vibration, like vibrational energy that anybody can tap into, right? And I think that's the biggest thing to recognize, even within Christianity. It's like anybody should be able to have access to God. Like, you shouldn't have to rely on a person, so to speak. So that being said, I'm just taking little by little my path, my approach to this journey. I really love this park. I be coming here all the time, by the way, y'all. So it's funny, but yeah, no coincidence I ended up here. Yeah, man, that's what I've been doing. And let me just look at this one more time, because I wrote that down for you. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, focusing on living. So the 3 things that helped me detach from that reality in front of me, it was really focusing on the end goals in mind, just like Neville talks all the time, but devotion to my path and purpose, as well as, internal surrender, but external submission. And I think that's been key for me, because I've heard that in the past couple of weeks of like, there's a difference between surrender and submission. And even those words are like, they're really tough for a lot of people. And I feel like they deserve their own video. Like, we'll probably have to revisit that topic too, this topic. But yeah, for me, a lot of things started within. It's always been more about my internal, even my relationships with people, things that I'm dealing with, processing. We talk about grief and like being able to create. Creating is a very, to me, internal process, because you're incubating like an idea and vision and thought, right? So being flexible like that is, I know one of the greatest analogies I've even heard is like, when you think about pregnancy, it's like there's so many things that goes on for a woman to embody like creating life. And it's like, you gotta be extremely flexible. You know, I don't know, but shout out y'all, cause y'all, I love women, man. You know, Black women, that's my heart too. And it's like, yeah, y'all gotta be flexible to do what y'all do. So salute to y'all, hats off. But yeah, I feel like that's more what surrendering looks like. Like, you feel me? Like, yeah, if a woman is giving birth, like, she has to surrender to all these things that's going on inside of her, quite literally. Whereas like submission is more so external. We think about relationships with other people. It could be marriage, husband, wife. You know, that's the most common submission topic I feel like that's brought up. But even when it comes to submission to God and like a higher purpose and like this being bigger than me, I feel like that's been a lot of the path as well. So yeah, I know I was telling y'all, even like, oh, with sales, like so I have my first week or so with Ion, and my mom asked, and I'm like, yeah, you know, like it's cool, but they was real with me. They're like, yo, it's not as it's not producing as much as it was last year. Like, you know, I'm talking to people, knocking on doors of strangers, and some people don't want to talk. You feel me? I have to respect that, right? I choose to submit to their autonomy to not have people come to their house. Like, they literally got signs and everything in some villages or whatever. So I'm like, all right, that's not up to me. You feel me? But I'm getting a commission. I'm just figuring it out of like, I didn't get my first sale on my own, but I was with somebody. And so technically I get it. And it's like, all right, that's cool. But besides that, I'm really open to whatever opportunities. There's even new things that I'm looking into, and like continuing to go into sales, continue to, you know, grow myself so that I can develop my business, and looking at grants. And and I'm about to get back to the crib because I'm submitting this poetry, this beautiful poem that I've been working on. And the main topics are about freedom and honesty. And this was the whole point, like, see, full spiral, to be like, at the end of the day, when I can flow like this, I feel like with any of us, when we can be open about our choices, about our reality, about what we're creating, that's really what freedom looks like embodied. So it's like, yeah, there might be restrictions of like just my reality, what it looks like, but you know how they say ignoring reality to a sense being delusional, but also just accepting that, sure, there's like some limitations that are in front of me, but that doesn't limit what's possible for me. You know what I'm saying? And that being the case, even just being willing to submit to like, this is what I'm doing right now, but it doesn't make up who I am. It doesn't decide my value, my worth. I feel like that's when you have true freedom, because you can accept that something might be in front of you, and right, it might be telling you one piece of information, like the data might say this, but when you know in your mind and your spirit and you're like, and your heart, and you're like, okay, this is what's meant for me, and I'm devoted to that outcome, right? This end goal, this success, this way of thriving. I feel like that's when you can truly be free. And so like for me, like, yeah, when I can get to come on walks with y'all and like make videos in my new neighborhood and I get to run on this track like late at night. Like, to me, I'm like, that's dope. Like, that's real freedom for sure. You feel me? And there's so much more I'm just seeing for myself and for my life. Cause I'm like, oh, the possibilities are limitless. And like, I'm finna make so much money. I'm finna make so much money, y'all. Like, it's, you know, it's not even a debate. So it's just up to me in order to fulfill that agreement to continue to show up day to day, continue to be devoted, like not thinking about the small, well, I consider the small things, but you know what I'm saying, of like the details and the reality that I don't want to create, right? Because I'll say this to even to close, right? There's infinite truths. And like, even when we talk about honesty, one thing I do love for myself, I feel like as a super sag, I'll say this too, because I've always felt like very big on my honesty and truth, right? But it's like when we realize in this reality, something I'm learning more about is that there's infinite truths. And even being willing to accept that and be selective about the truth that I abide to and abide by, that's so key. Like, that's so pivotal, because think about this. Think about what I'm saying, y'all. There's literally an infinite amount of truths. And like, true is just like something exists. There's certain things that we just don't debate, right? And we think about like this either happened or it didn't. But like, if I'm here, I'm saying like, that's true. Like, I'm present, I am, it's true. But there's so many, think about all the other things that are present. Think about You know, there's poverty, there's abuse, there's like, you know, anger, frustration, hate, all these things. But then there's also love, there's also joy, there's also peace, there's also prosperity. Feel me? There's also growth, abundance, finance. Which one of those truths do you want to focus on? Because they're both going to still exist, regardless of whether or not you pay attention to it. They're going to exist. I just feel like that's true, and that's just the parallel duality imbalance, right? Of positive and negative. It's always going to be in the universe. So it's like, who are we to play God to be like, I'm gonna change that, or like at least to where it doesn't exist. Like I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna be like Thanos, and it's gonna all be over. Like, no, bro, we're not Thanos. At the end of the day, we can make change, but it's like there's always gonna be a degree of flexibility, right? There's gonna be a bit of nuance. There's gonna be tolerance, is one of my favorite engineering words, right? So when we understand that and we realize like, okay, I can tolerate the things that I don't care for, but I'm going to prioritize the things that I love. That is where I'm really feeling like I'm at with my life, of like me putting my energy here. It's like, you know, what do they say? Where your attention resides, like there your energy lies, or something like that. But even just in the Bible, like as a man thinketh, like whatever I'm thinking about, I'm focusing, is going to multiply. So I'm literally in the process of like creating and changing many details, many aspects of my life to be like, yo, I don't even want to talk about that. I don't even want to think about it or focus on it anymore. Because me doing that is like, not only maybe a seed has been planted, but like growing a seed and growing fruit that I don't want to bear. And so, yeah, before I'll probably want to go into a whole bunch of other different directions, but nah, I feel like that's just really what was important for me to come out and say to you guys, because yeah, I'm very intentional about what I'm creating in this moment, and I feel like it's really helping me. So this is what I mean about this conversation, this whole experience, was just being flexible for me and what I've been doing. And I definitely want to encourage you guys to find your own ways to show up in life and be flexible and like have your restrictions and limitations for creating, but don't let those limitations and those restrictions confine you. That is really what I'm saying. Like, it's okay at the end of the day. I think one of the biggest things people probably notice about me over time is like, I change my mind. And like, yeah, word is bond until it's not. Until it's not, you feel me? Because it's just an agreement. It's a contract, you feel me? But if you know anything about agreements and contracts, you can always amend, like a real agreement, you can always amend that agreement. You can terminate that contract, and nothing is finite. Nothing in the universe is law per se. Well, look, I don't know, man. Nothing is I feel like nothing is not subject to change. So who knows what can happen tomorrow? That's all I'm gonna say. I appreciate y'all for real. Yeah, thank y'all for being flexible with me. This sun is hitting. Y'all probably see me sweating, but it feels really good. Somebody keep getting some sun, some good dopamine. And yeah, until next time, peace.